DMCA. What I'm doing here, what we're doing here, is free. I'm paying for the internet. There's no FCC control of this. I can say fuck, shit, cocksucker, anus. I can do and say anything I want. I can show pictures of anything I want if I changed my settings, which would be adult content or not safe for work. And if I made, there's some things I might have to do to protect children because of COPA. You know COPA, the Children's Online Protection Act. So you don't want to do anything like that. I don't want to be yelling cocksucker anyway, but the point is I can. The First Amendment gives me the absolute right. Do we need to read that too? Always in my studio there is a copy of the Constitution. Always. It is rule number 1 in every studio, in my opinion, in the United States of America, because if the cops come to the door, you want to be able to say, I'm pretty sure I have the right to do or say anything I want in this room, and you don't, because you're standing here without a warrant. But here's the Constitution of the United States of America. Let's go ahead and read the First Amendment of the Constitution, shall we?
Let's do it.
I love reading it. Occasionally it pops up over there because of the 1998 show at the Brooklyn Museum of Art, when Rudy Giuliani tried to censor art. I went in protest and I printed this, painted it on the back of my shirt, wore a tie, button-down shirt with this painted on the back, and it said, fuck Rudy. And I walked into the museum. That'll appear occasionally over there, but we're going to read it aloud. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. What that means is, by definition, everything I say in this room, everything I ever say or do, or anyone in here says or does, cannot be restricted by you or anyone else. No lawyer, no judge, no one. No one. That is what I signed up for, and that is what he was born into, and that's what the USA is supposed to promise. So let's start there. Copyright claims now are being put on what I've done and am doing. And so I'm having a problem with that. So let's take a look at what that means. DMCA, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. I just said I'm cool with following COPA, right? I don't want children to be affected adversely by my behavior. So cool, all right, I can see why that would need to be there. Can you see why this would need to be here? The Digital Millennium Copyright Act is a 1998 U.S. copyright law that implements 2 1996 treaties of the World Intellectual Property Organization, the WIPO. It criminalizes production and dissemination of technology, devices, or services intended to circumvent measures that control access to copyrighted works, commonly known as digital rights management, or DRM. It also criminalizes the act of circumventing an access control, whether or not there is actual infringement of copyright itself. That's where we are. If I play Van Morrison on the radio, or if I play William Devon on my guitar, that's where I am. I'm in the act of circumventing an access control, whether or not I'm infringement of the copyright itself. The DMCA heightens the penalties for copyright infringement on the internet. Passed on 12th October of 1998 by a unanimous vote in the Senate, signed into law by Bill Clinton on October 28th of 1998, the DMCA amended Title 17 of the U.S. Code. So that's the law. Now, let's talk about exemptions. No, it makes all the sense. But this is what's going to allow us to do whatever we want, okay? So you all accept that. Miscellaneous provisions, statutory licenses. Hang on. DMCA. The thing that allows me to show a movie and in a critical context where there's no money being made is covered here in the DMCA. Like a professor or a person at a TED Talk, okay? That's covered. Now, I want to find that segment so we can talk about it and say that's why I should be able to play whatever music I want in here.
And not get distracted.
And not be... Right now, there are bans on 2 or 3 of my videos simply because I played a song. And that can't happen. This has to be international.
That's why that doesn't make sense to me. It's just like...
But there's a way. I'm saying it's protected here. I'm reading the header, but it's protected. So hang on. We got to find the section that's about protecting. free speech. Probably stick that in. Be faster, right? DMCA, protect free speech. Easier way to find it. Sorry. 15 years under the anti-circumvention provisions. Wow, look, all the opposite these people are saying. What is this? EFF, Electronic Frontier Foundation. Join, give money. It's December. It's time for all your charitable donations. Unintended consequences of 15 years under the DMCA, written in March of 2013. This is an old and outdated copy. Let's visit the most recent version. Even better. I love the EFF. Give them money. The Unintended Consequences Archive. 16 years under the DMCA.
That was 4 years ago. Dang. Got a whole PDF.
Yep. This document collects reported cases where the anti-circumvention provisions of the DMCA have been invoked not against pirates, but against consumers, scientists, and legitimate competitors. That's us.
Us.
Thank you. That's us. I am a consumer, a scientist, and a legitimate competitor. And I'm making no money. This is not to make money.
Fair use.
But I thought it was supposed to protect fair use.
It's supposed to, but it doesn't.
I know, that's fine. That's interesting. That's news to me.
That's what they're trying
That's
to
news to me.
That's what they're trying to tell you right there. What did it say?
It's the same as the 2013 one, basically, with some similar. Shall I read? You want to read this aloud? I want to check out fair use protection before doing that, because this is just EFF telling us.
The FUPA.
This isn't print. Fair use. This is about fair use in print, but in the most general sense, a fair use is any copying of copyrighted material done for a limited and transformative purpose. Limited. And transformative purpose, such as to comment upon, criticize, or parody a copyrighted work. Such uses can be done without permission from the copyright owner. In other words, fair use is a defense against a claim of copyright infringement. If your use qualifies as a fair use, then it would not be considered an infringement. So what is a transformative use? If this definition seems ambiguous or vague, be aware that millions of dollars in legal fees have been spent attempting to define what qualifies as a fair use. There are no hard and fast rules, only general guidelines and varied court decisions, because the judges and lawmakers who created the fair use exception did not want to limit its definition. Like free speech, they wanted it to have an expansive meaning that could be open to interpretation. Most fair use analyses falls into two categories. One, commentary and criticism, which is what I'm doing. Or two, parody, which is what, the Life of Brian, right? Or satire. If you are commenting upon or critiquing a copyrighted work, for instance, writing a book review. Hang on, why am I sneezing today? It might be the scent. I've got the double wick candle now. I feel like it's producing. What did you blow out one of them?
I don't know.
Oh shit.
Well,
that didn't work. It's a long.
Maybe that's why.
It's an hour and 45. This is the
wait.
longest episode of the AntiClimactic Nonshow that we've had.
Wow.
By far. By about 10 minutes. Okay. If you are commenting upon or critiquing a copyrighted work, for instance, quoting a few lines, some examples of commentary and criticism include. Man, it's still sneezing. I'm gonna get rid of that real quick. So these are some examples of protected commentary and criticism. Quoting a few lines from a Bob Dylan song. Quoting a few lines from a Bob Dylan song in a music review. Okay, that makes sense. Summarizing and quoting from a medical article on prostate cancer in a news report. copying a few paragraphs from a news article for use by a teacher or student in a lesson, or copying a portion of a magazine article for use in a related court case. Okay, so this is from Stanford, and they're talking about fair use, and it's a good summative statement. Stanford Law produces this. Stanford.edu. So, quoting a few lines from a song. How about playing the whole song? How about if I say, okay, I'm going to critique 1965, and one thing was there was a song by Bob Dylan, so I'm going to play the whole song to talk about the year 1965, and this is a poet from then. If I play the whole song, shouldn't I be... I'm not making money off it, I'm using it for critique and commentary, and it fits everything in the thing, right? My guess is that that would be fine.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean,
each of these is a step up. We're going to watch. We're going to make now the case, right? All the way up to Van Morrison saying, you cannot use my song. And not only can you not use my song, even though it's an audio element that's playing out of the speaker and there's all this other stuff going on, you might be dancing, you might be cutting stuff up, you might be showing other things, that song can prevent all of that from being seen by anyone in the world. That has happened. The live stream is blocked from that one episode where I've been testing songs, right? What can I use, what can I not use? And the biggest reason why I'm doing that is because I protest the notion that, and they have, you must have seen these, as an audio producer, Nico must have seen these, banks and banks of stuff you can use. Yeah. Make your movie, make your video of your family and your kids, and you can use this bouncy sound, or this sad song, or this, make your funeral thing and have a sad, it's all just, well, the point is that it's, they've licensed somehow a mechanism where they're making money for you to use that, and you're not violating anything.
That's
but
crazy.
I can't play a Van Morrison song and talk about the year it was written.
That's crazy. It just doesn't make
Strikes
sense.
me as we might have found what EFF is calling the unintended consequences of the DMCA. Right? That's what I think we've just described.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, I consistently produced material like this in the past that was not live. I just showed you Noir TV was one of them. I did one for the Giants. I did a show about the Giants for like a whole 2 years. For those, I was shooting the video, cutting it all up, making it sweet, and then at 11 o'clock, the show would be dropped. So it's pre-produced. You know what I'm saying? This is a live stream. So what happens each day, right now, I can start singing Van Morrison as loud as I want, and there's nobody can stop it. You whoever's watching can see it.
Yeah.
But the minute the show is over and the robot computer goes and finds the song, bzz, gone. So this is powerful distinction. Notice the power of the distinction here, right? Sure. So watching the show live, which none of you have done, I appreciate you fans or whatever. I mean, you're not fans because it's not a show. That's A. I gotta stop calling it a show. Anyone participating in the program or observing the program, you're in it, and sorry, I forget where we're going with that. Where were we? I've lost my train of thought.
How people watching the show live.
Yeah, the line between that dashed line, right? Yeah. Because if you're a YouTube star right now, and again, this Nonshow has no interest in being a YouTube success. That is not the point here. The point is to use YouTube the way I want to use YouTube, which is not for money but for ideas. So in that context, this is a huge distinction between live broadcast and the chunks that you can watch after it's over. Because they can decide you can't watch the whole chunk. That Van Morrison song has killed a 1 hour, 37 minute program.
Jeez.
1 hour and 37 minutes I produced in this room. Not for money, and that song was an element, and now you cannot watch the entire 1 hour and 37 minutes. I have to go into the 1 hour and 37 minute chunk, cut it into pieces, and then you can listen to those as long as the Van Morrison song doesn't appear anywhere in any chunk of those.
That's insane.
No, that's sane. That's what's happening at the moment.
No, yeah, it's just...
This is well, no, it's part of the fear people have of free information. And
that's why it's crazy. It's just
in a hyper-capitalized society, that's what's absurd.
Yeah.
It's that they've made that absurd.
No, yeah, definitely. That's what I'm saying. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
So if I invite Nico here to make original music, I can do and say whatever I want and have no fear that after it's done, I don't have to edit it, nothing, right?
We'll see.
Oh, I guarantee you. I guarantee you. Oh, we will, actually, we will see, though. There could be 3 notes in what... If you're an artist and you're out there and you're checking the boxes that say, how harsh do you want me to do this? And you're checking all the way out to that point, I think you're violating my... I should be able to sue Van Morrison. Right? I should be able to sue Van Morrison, I feel like.
Let's do it.
Well, I don't... It's a waste of my
Sue Van
time. I
Morrison.
don't want to sue Van Morrison. But you see my point, though, right?
Yeah.
I'm not making any money, so there's no way that anybody would take that case because I'm not suing him for anything except the intellectual capacity, the ability. So it wouldn't be Van Morrison. I have to go... EFF could sponsor me to sue the law to say that that's not a thing we should be doing.
Yeah.
But then that'll open the door for... You know what I mean?
Yeah, for everyone who wants to fucking use stuff.
Right, and now now in this case it is no surprise that I'm Indian, because we copy anything we want. We do whatever the fuck we want. We've always done it. We will always do it. And people always say that. I make a joke. I say, here's how you know I'm Indian. Anytime I give anybody a bill that's larger than a 20, they go like this. I tell that joke, and I've had people go, "Oh, that's racist." I'm like, no, dude. There's a practical reason why people think the way they think, and it's because of their culture. And we believe something differently about ourselves, I think. And now comes the collision of the capitalized world and India's booming economy and copyright and that fundamental idea that I can say and do whatever I want. It's not law that's impeding that. I'm not, COPPA works, right? I'm not, the Online Protection Act for Children works because I'm not trying to fuck up children, right? But it's not working in the context that I should be able to sit in this room in a controlled facility using professional language and say and play and discuss anything I want, and that should be made available to everybody on the earth. That should be protected. That should be protected.
Especially since you're not making any money.
Especially if the person in question is not making any money, correct.
Yeah. That's where it gets, like, confusing, you know? That's where it doesn't make sense. You should be able to do whatever you want in here because you're not making money. Or you don't have intentions of making money. That's where that whole thing gets blurry, you know? And it doesn't really define those things either.
It doesn't. And the line is, once we stop the show, it becomes a published object. So that has different rules. Because if I died and that thing was up there defending Van Morrison as a published object, that's not right. That's not fair to Van Morrison.
Yeah.
Right? If I played Van Morrison and had a bunch of Nazi stuff and horrible negative shit around it, right? And I said, oh, I love Van Morrison. That's what he's trying to prevent, right?
Yeah.
If you think about it.
No, yeah.
Okay. Then I could get away with that if I was a crazy nutbag using that music to promote my horrible stuff while it was live,
But
like I'm doing,
it could also
right?
come from...
And then the minute it's a published object, the collision between the copyright's intent, the person who copyrighted their intent, and the way it's being utilized becomes legal territory that can be protected.
That's true.
So that distinction is what live radio, and why we made pirate radio, because we said, look, you can't do that. I can build a transmitter for less than $200. I can buy or make an antenna for less than $10. I can buy enough wire for less than $10, and I can go outside on my building that I own on my property, and I can climb up on the roof, and I can stick that antenna up there, and I can go downstairs, and I can put a microphone into that transmitter, and I can say shit, fuck, cunt, kill, murder, Hitler is great, Nazi, anything I want. You can elect to tune in using a receiver, or you can not elect to tune in receiving. This was the fundamental thing we were trying to say in the pirate radio movement, which got exploded by the internet because pirate radio becomes immaterial once you have the internet.
Yeah, definitely.
The way it is now.
Right.
But the internet is controlled in the manner that it is now.
So it's
I can't make my own wireless projecting device into the internet. I have to have AT&T or Verizon or blah, blah, blah. I can't. It's not the same as building my transmitter, sticking a thing up.
It's just a big culmination of control and censorship.
Of ideas.
Yeah.
Which is one thing we need critically right now. Right?
Yeah, but
the ideas are being farmed into the academy, right?
Yeah.
Shall we say that? They're being sent through the academy. The academy is also growing more and more controlled by corporations. So we're limiting the ability of creative thought through this. No? We're limiting creativity. That I think is...
They're trying to.
No, they're actively doing it.
Yeah.
Alright, should we read this thing now?
Yeah.
This is the EFF. Unintended Consequences. Okay? The most recent one, which was in 2014. Alright? Unintended consequences of the DMCA, the Digital Millennial Copyright Act. The anti-circumvention provisions of the Digital Millennial Copyright Act, codified in Section 1201 of the Copyright Act, have not been used as Congress envisioned. The law was ostensibly intended to stop copyright infringers from defeating anti-piracy protections added to copyrighted works. In practice, the anti-circumvention provisions have been used to stifle a wide array of legitimate activities. As a result, the DMCA has become a serious threat to several important public policy priorities. 1. The DMCA chills free expression and scientific research. Experience within Section 1201 demonstrates that it is being used to stifle free speech and scientific research. The lawsuit against 2600 magazines... Threats, 2600 magazine, I guess. Threats against Princeton professor Edward Felton's team of researchers and prosecution of Russian programmer Dmitry Sklyarov have chilled the legitimate activities of journalists, publishers, scientists, students, programmers, and members of the public. The DMCA jeopardizes fair use, number 2, by banning all acts of circumvention and all technologies and tools that can be used for circumvention. The DMCA grants to copyright owners the power to unilaterally eliminate the public's fair use rights, as Van Morrison has done in this context. Already, the movie industry's use of encryption on DVDs has curtailed consumers' ability to make legitimate personal use copies of movies that they have purchased. 3. The DMCA impedes competition and innovation. Rather than focusing on pirates, some have wielded the DMCA to hinder legitimate competitors. For example, the DMCA has been used to block aftermarket competition in laser printer toner cartridges, garage door openers, video game console accessories, and computer maintenance services. Similarly, Apple has used the DMCA to tie its iPhone devices to Apple's own software and services. That brings us back to the CEO of Google, who testified in front of Congress this week about this very matter. The idea that the huge companies, Google and Apple, have occupied by using the DMCA against others is what that's about. It's monopolistic. This is an antitrust issue. So when we're talking about antitrust, you have to go after these entities, and to do that, one way would be to readdress the DMCA. I think that's a very smart idea. We should have the new Congress readdress the DMCA. The DMCA interferes with computer intrusion laws. The DMCA has been misused as a general-purpose prohibition on computer network access, a task for which it was not designed and to which it is ill-suited. For example, a disgruntled employer uses the DMCA against a former contractor for simply connecting to the company's computer system through a VPN, a virtual private network. Okay, that makes sense. But nowadays, this is 4 years ago, they haven't updated it, and nowadays with current issues of like the computers now, users are signing over because they want to be able to talk to the machine. They're signing over the right for these people just to take.
Right.
They're voluntarily giving away a thing that they're complaining about.
Yeah.